two things, funnel optimization and data science. And this is how essentially we get to 17 million users, or majority of our channels come from. Just before that, I want to start with a pop quiz, right? What do you think these unicorns spend on marketing? Bots, $1.6 billion market cap, year-on-year growth 41%. Shopify, a SaaS for building up your e-commerce store, 45% year-on-year, market cap of close to $2 billion USD. Wix.com, a good way to essentially build your websites a lot faster, 44% year-on-year growth, market cap of $1 billion. Can I get a show of hands? 20% of revenue on marketing? No? 40? 60? 80? 100? 2,000? All right, the answer is 104% on bots. Wow. Shopify, 54%. Right? Wix.com, 80% of the revenue. Now, my next question is, how much do you think Uber spends? The answer is a lot, right? So let's look at, I got this from Gawkers, right? So they're losing money, $163 million. This is allegedly what the, I guess, the financials look like, so I'm not sure if it's right or not, but if we were to assume that this is right, they're spending about 80% on marketing, right? So looking at the cost of revenue, I am assuming that the credits that they're giving out, the $10 to your friend, to your friend's friends, and so forth, will probably be under the cost of revenue line, right? So what that means is they're essentially spending probably more than 100% of revenue on revenue. So what does that mean? Well, let's start with this first. How much do you think Freelancer.com spend? 10%? 20, 40, 50, 60? We spend 15%, 1.5, to achieve the same growth as what these guys do. So I want to talk to you guys, and I want to advise you guys on this thing. I talk to a lot of startups, especially in Southeast Asia, right? One thing that they talk to me about is, I'm going to raise this much. I'm going to raise $10 million. I'm like, good. What are you going to do? Are you going to hire engineers? It's like, no. I'm going to spend it on paid marketing. I'm like, okay. Let's look at the stats, right? You're spending 100K of paid marketing, and you're making 75K in a year time. Does that make sense? Oh, it's all right. We'll raise more. We'll raise more, right? This doesn't work like that. It's a death of spiral, right? You got to raise more, right? Until investors do not want to give you money anymore. You got to raise for debt collectors, right? And then, and at the end, you don't have any more money. So please avoid the death of spiral of paid marketing, where your lifetime value is less than the cost per acquisition. So where should your growth come from? Data science. Data science, to cut it simply, is a system or process of knowing insights or extracting insights from data, both unstructured and structured. So it could be large volume of data, it could be small data, it could be big data, or whatever you want to call it. Right? And the second is funnel optimization, right? So funnel, as you guys would know, it would consist of from me coming into the website to actually ending up doing something that you want in the website, right? So I'll talk a lot more about that in the next few slides. And I thought I want to share sort of some growth things that we do at Freelancer.com and sort of some of the rule of thumbs that we did. So the first thing is law of city click-throughs, right? In paid marketing, as Sean Ellis said, like you have to be the first to it, try it and get off and try again on this, right? You have to be novel and your paid marketing channel or other marketing channels, right? Because otherwise everyone else would follow, and then your ROI will be very, very, will not be very good anymore, right? So you have to be novel and unique at what you're doing, right? So the first rule is do not be most companies, because then you're not novel anymore. Let's start with the team. The team has to be unique. The team has to be novel. Always hire the best, right? Hire people smarter than you. And when I say that, seriously, hire people smarter than you, right? Live and breathe hiring people smarter than you, right? Because at the end of the day, what do I want to do? I want to play Facebook all day, and all my guys work for me and achieve 100% growth, right? And I'll get a good salary. And then always hires the A, right? Because A hires A, B hires C, C hires D. Now, there is a loophole in that sentence that I realized just 5 minutes ago. What happens to B? Who hires B? The answer is A hires B, and then B will hopefully turn A, or if it doesn't, that will be C, and then someone else will hire them, right? Do not ever compromise on talent, all right? Talent is #1 priority, especially for us in the scalable internet product. So this is how our data science team looks like. It's a division in the growth team that we're very proud of. I started from that team. And this is the composition of it, right? A third of us are university medalists. What that means is we are sort of those guys graduate at the top of his class. Now, there are two things that will come out of that. They are really smart and they work hard. Because if you're not working hard, you will not be the top of the class, right? So there's two good sort of principles coming out of that. Half of us are PhDs. In a real term, PhD, and also passionate, hungry, and driven. And a lot of engineering, because they look at the problem and they would try to solve it scalably, including marketing strategy, right? So a lot of I'm a mechatronics engineer, double with the computer science. One of my guys is quantum physicists, mechanical engineers, electronic engineers, and so forth. I used to have Australia's best cash game poker player as well in Australia. He made $4 million a year. He, however, left a few weeks ago to start his own company. But these are sort of the composition of the people you look at to hire a data science team. So who do you not hire? You do not hire Donald Trump, right? Why? Because Donald Trump would say things like, our website is shit, right? How do I make it more usable? And then we're like, well, why do you say so? What are does the data say it, or does the data prove it otherwise? It's like, no, because I say it otherwise, right? Whatever Donald say, he will always assume he's right. Donald cannot code. Donald cannot query the database, so Donald would have to go to find someone to say, hey, how many users do we have in Australia or Canada, right? Hence the context switching, right? You need to be jack of all trades to be able to do all this stuff, right? And Donald would say, hey, our campaign has to go viral. Right? What defines virality, Donald, right? Is it a cycle of time? Is it K-factor or what, right? How much revenue will we make? And Donald will read Wired. And because Donald's hair is so amazing, it's 5 p.m. and he has to go to a hairstyling appointment. So who you should hire? You should hire Warren Buffett, right? Computer science, mathematics, economics degree, or stats or engineering degree, right? He will get his hands dirty, right? He will look at dashboard and data. It is their source of truth, and they will look at that and refer to regularly. They will just query their own stats themselves. They will visualize and fit their core funnel perfectly with data. They can code, and HTML is not coding. They will formulate their own hypothesis. They will code and validate themselves. They're SQL gurus, right? And they will work their ass off until 11 p.m. to make sure things get done. So Donald, no. Warren Buffett, yes. Yeah. So what's the principle? Do not be most companies. You have to be novel. Right? What does that mean again? It means you do not be most companies, because most companies will track three things. Traffic, to users, to revenue. The reality, though, is you have to track everything. Right? And what that means is, we at Freelancer.com, we literally have a dashboard of like thousands of graphs, right, that we'll scroll through and we'll be able to search for it pretty easily, because knowing is good, right? Even though you don't use that as an insight, just knowing is good, because when the things go down, you'll be able to find out and pinpoint pretty easily why projects go down, why the revenue goes down, and so forth. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Funnel, you have to track your funnel, right? Even as like for our case, for example, it becomes from project posted, awarded, accepted, completed, coming back again. That's a funnel, right? And you put the number in between, the conversion between posted, awarded, and so forth, and you know where to tackle, right? I want to understand this concept of funnel, because you could use it on an abstract level, and you can also use it on a very granular level, right? Let's look at form, for example. You could track your form as a funnel, because what that means is you'll be able to track, okay, what are they filling in? Where do they drop off? Maybe I should remove that description, because then conversion rate will go up. So track your funnel. This is a really good abstract way of thinking about funnel. I know everyone has known about this, but I would run through it anyway for the benefit of the others that don't. It will start with R. It's a pirate metrics, courtesy of 500 startups and Dave McClure. So it starts with acquisition, right? How do you get people to your website? What are the acquisition channels? Is that organic level? Is that SEO level? Is that SEM? Is that content? Is that anything? You need to know what percentage each contributes, right? And then we go to activation. Do they sign up as a user, right? And then we go to revenue. Do they make money for us? Retention. Do they post their second project in Freelancer case? Referrals. Do they refer their friends after they post this first or second project? I want to add another one, which I think is good to sort of pin it out. Resurrection. If they don't use us anymore, will they come and we resurrect them so that they will use us after 6 months of dormancy, right? Now, if you think about it, your whole company should be about two metrics: CPA and LTV, right? So acquisition and activation is about what? It's about reducing your CPA, your cost per acquisition, right? And that should be 30% of your workforce, right? 70% of your other workforce should be about increasing the lifetime value of a user, either building new features or, tweaking, growth hacking, sort of a lot of minor tweaking and so forth. And those are about revenue, retention, referral, and resurrection. So your company should be just about improving those two metrics. This is a concept of attribution analysis. Everyone probably knows about this, right? It's how you attribute a specific things to a specific exit point. I will go through a few things that, how you look at attribution analysis. The first thing is first interaction, right? So the first interaction means you only look at it from the first time you click. So if I come from organic, and then and I'll go to social referral, then I will use that organic as the first attribution to why my project gets posted. Last is the other way around, last click. Assisted conversion is a tricky one because it means every single one assists on your conversion. Linear means every single channel have equal weighting. Time decay means if you are the most recent attribution channel, then you have more impact on it. And then position-based, could do things like 40% at the last one, 40% at the first one, and every else is distributed. So there's a few attribution analysis on this that you could plot. And the best thing about this, you need to plot all of it because when the project goes down, right, you just need to pinpoint where is it going down, and having those 5 graphs will tell you where it is. So how you should track? We talk about all this stuff. There's so many third-party tools like Kissmetrics, Mixpanel A, Mixpanel B, C, D, right? 2 things, really. First, use Google Analytics. They're amazing, right? There are a lot of stuff that you think Google Analytics can do that you can do. For the first 2 years, I was literally banking on just Google Analytics to do my growth hacking, right? So use that as your data storage tool. Now, we talk about Kissmetrics, Mixpanel, and so forth. I'm recommending you guys to build your own, right? It's not that hard. Right, we have a tool at Freelancer, we call it QTS, because a person named Quan built it, so it calls for Quan Tracking System. Very, very innovative. We have about 10 million events a day being stored in that QTS, right? And then it's essentially just a storage, and then we'll take it out and we'll put it in an Amazon Redshift as a data warehousing tool. What this does is essentially all your data that is everywhere, you combine it into one, and that would be amazing, right? You compound the data, and then 1 + 1 = 3, right? If you have Kissmetrics, Mixpanel, and all that stuff, right? How are you going to combine those? You can, but it'll be hard. You have to track your competitors. Now, I know Shopo is here. That's why I put a Shopo case study on this. So you have to know your competitors as well as you, right? The reality is everything is available on the internet. You just need to be smart at it, right? In fact, I would so much argue that all startups is about solving information asymmetry, right? Google, Castle, State, and so forth. Freelancer. So let's look at case study of Shoppo.com. How do you know? I thought you were not coming. And here you are on the front page. How do you know? How do you know how many items are sold, how many items are listed? How many? Those are easy, right? What about we go to revenue, right? How do you know $1 revenue made on an e-commerce store or best-selling items? If you go around and you go, right, the reality is majority of the e-commerce stores will probably use Magento and so forth. So when you add to cart, they will tell you what the quantity of those are. So if you get 1 available, 2 available, 9, the quantity is not available, 8, quantity is not available. So you know where exactly their stock is. Right? Now, if you script that every minute, then you know how their stock looks like. Right? If they restock, it will just go up, right? What that means is that it's the revenue, right? You can just times that, and then there you go, revenue insights on you, right? You know what their best-selling items are, and so forth. You can't do this without engineering effort, unfortunately, right? Casper.js is a tool to use to do this, because you could make user manipulation to be able to track that. Sorry, Shopo. I seriously thought you were not coming. Don't be most companies. Most companies do not test. I really like Donald Trump, that's why I put a lot of faith of his. You have to A/B test, right? A/B test is so powerful tool that because correlation and causation can now be tested. Correlation is easy from a data science perspective. You're tucking variables into R, it will tell you what is correlated with what, right? What is hard is causation, right? With the power of A/B test, now you can test almost anything on causation, right? So use A/B tests for everything, right? Always form your hypothesis. When you build features, you need to know what the success metrics are, or failure metrics in that case, right? Because otherwise, why are you doing it, right? Almost all things can be A/B tested, including your new features. Now, A/B testing should be done not on just one metric, right? I look at Optimizely and so forth. They only track on one metric. The reality, you need to A/B test on multiple metrics, right? Because your A/B test is not going to be perfect, right? It's going to be better for some segment of the users. It's going to be worse for some segment of the users. But knowing that, then you will be able to do A/B tests on you'll be able to release those features just on segment of users, right? Again, I can't see of a third-party tool that can do that just yet, so build your own. Mobile testing is a bit harder, right? But we can still do it, right? We talk about it, yes. Release cycle is 2 weeks, right? But you could still A/B test on your mobile web before you put it on mobile app, so that's a lot easier, right? And a lot of stuff in the app, like button colors and all that stuff, again, you could pretty easily A/B test that by linking it to a server and ask for the colors and so forth. So A/B testing is not as hard as you think it is. I really need to test a lot of things, right? Doesn't mean you want to use it, right? But knowing is good. This is how our A/B test looks like, right? We use our own tool. We like to use our own thing. There's 2 ways of A/B testing. I won't go through over it because my time is running out. But we're using Bayesian approach of approaching it, right? Because it will answer the best question, which is A better than B? If so, what are the probability? Most third-party tools use null hypothesis, which is another method of doing it. This is the formula if you're interested. I do not know how it works myself, but my data scientists are all here, so talk to them. Hold on, let me try this. Ah, cool. And you see that all these metrics, right? You're testing it so that you know what works and what doesn't. Number 2, conversion rate is everything everywhere. Everything, right? Like including, when you try to talk to someone, try to convert them, right? So think about that as a mindset. Every page or screens in your website or app should have at least one purpose or CTA, right? Then you should really put all your pages CVR, right? Everything, right? Including reading, including a content page, which means you want to read it. So you need to track how many people read until the end as a CTA, right? Lowest hanging fruit for growth is to improve your CVR, because doubling your conversion rate would halve your CPA. Duh. Chopo again. It's a case study out the track form, right, for conversion rate, right? Imagine if whenever someone fills it in, right, you'll be able to track every single thing what they're filling in at the background, right? And then you suddenly know where they drops, right? For example, this checkout page might be a bit more, is it convoluted? Is it not, right? So you would know straight away by tracking every single step of them on the funnel. Does that make sense? Yeah? Then you know what the conversion of that looks like, and you know what to remove to test for better conversion. Number 3, which is the most important thing, be very fast and be fast. And what that means is another mindset, right? Fast is always good, right? Page performance, have to be fast. There's this thing that Google came up with, Rail. Have a look at it. It's response, animation, idle, and load. I will skip that. Another thing that I want to sort of run through with you guys, what about speed to performance CTA? Have you guys ever thought about that, right? If I arrive to a page on my, like say I post a project page, what about a speed from me arriving to that page and actually end up posting a project, right? Because if you try to convert that, because if you try to optimize that and half it, I can assure you your conversion rate is going to go up, right? And everything else will go up, because being fast is always good. Right, so how long does it take from discovery in showpo.com to actually adding to cart, right? Optimize on that, right? How long does it take to fill the checkout form? Because I can assure you, minimizing it, say for the sake of argument, from 4 minutes to 2 minutes, is going to increase your conversion rate, right? How long does it take to list your items in bukalapak.com, which is ebay.com? How long does it take to sell your first item, buy your first item, and so forth? Think about speed also to this level. Fast is always good, right? Speed as a habit should also apply in your product development. You need to be fast, right? Read speed as a habit in firstround.com. It's very amazing what they're doing. Speed is your asset. It is how you win. So I went to 500 startups. I love those guys. I teach at a few 500 startups conference as well. They came up with this thing I want to introduce to you guys. It's what they call growth sprint. Right? Growth sprint is a time when you put everyone into a room, and then what that means is a product manager, a data scientist, 3 software engineers. You put all of them into a room with a focus of growth, right? And nothing else matters. Autonomous, right? Because you're putting everyone into a room. It feels startup mode. You feel focused, and it works for us. And I want to run through a little bit on this. So the rule of growth sprint is there will be 3 sprints a day for 15 days. Each sprint is 1 growth experiment minimum. Each experiment cut will show in black, and the sprint master can only add cuts to the sprint. So what that means is you have to deliver 3 experiments a day at least, right? You put everyone into a room and you do that. So these are the concepts of it. There are concept of like 50 and 50, where you generate 50 experiments in 50 minutes, right? Just think about it, group it by, whether it's acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral, resurrection, and then you use I-score to prioritize it. I stands for impact, so the product manager and data scientist will be able to do that for you. C stands for confidence. Again, product manager and data scientist will do that for you, which means how confident I am on the impact of that experiment, right? Effort is what the engineer will put in, which means how long does it take to do that. And you rank it up, you times it up, you rank it, and then you do that in that order, right? So what that means is 3 sprints, 3 experiments a day, right? 30 experiments in 2 weeks. Or if it's freelancer.com, because they work in the weekend, it'll be 45 experiments. So this is how it looks like, right? The name, the description, the category, the pinpoint, and so forth, and then you just, you see in the room and you just kill it, right? The idea of it is be very fast, be focused, deliver very, very small experiments, because at the end of the day, what works on these minor experiments is the minor experiments. So that works really well for us, and I would love to talk to you guys about it. And as a matter of fact, we actually are going to create more growth rooms, so to say, at Freelancer. Now, if all else fails, get the machines to help you. And that's what I meant by machine learning. Right? Machine learning is a study of an artificial intelligence field to study pattern recognition, to understand data, and hopefully be able to predict from data what it is. So things like Amazon recommender system, right? 35% of the products are now being sold through recommender system, right? So they have to be smart. So that's one of the applications of machine learning. We have a team called matchmaking team, which essentially their goal is just to come up with a machine learning algorithm to make sure that when I post a project, I take care of the description, I take care of the skills, I take care of everything, and then chuck it into the model, and it will tell me who are the best freelancers that can complete the project, right? And then retrain the model after that. Right? There are a lot of stuff that you can do with this, because you'll be able to do things like, for example, predict if someone, when they code your store, is this guy going to be useful or not? Is this guy going to give us money or not? If so, I might want to spend more marketing to retarget them and so forth. So have a look at that. We use machine learning for fraud detection algorithm called Skynet. Again, being a two-sided marketplace, you guys would know, credit card fraud is very, very dangerous, right? Because we are liable to the chargeback in case chargeback happens. So we have to detect that really early. So we use machine learning to detect that. And so far, the stats has been amazing on detecting the fraud through Skynet, which is ironic. In summary, right? Know your and your competitor metrics, because data allows transparency, right? My guys could come to me and say, I want to do this, and I'm like, well, what does the data say, right? Because otherwise it's my opinion against yours. It doesn't really matter, right? Now it becomes who has most power with something that I do not want, right? Why are we doing it? Why are we building features? What does the data say? Right? And what are your success metrics, right? Always A/B test when you build features, always have a success metrics. Otherwise, you don't know whether it's working or not. And the most important thing is you got to execute and fail fast. It's all about who is the fastest. It's all about who is the fastest and experimenting, and then you win, right? And then if all else fails, get the machines to help you with the data. Thank you very much.